So here's a little bit of a recap of what we've already talked about. The data is about 25% of 16U kids have some sort of arm injury between the ages of 12 and 16, and 57% of UCL injuries are done on teenagers. The most concerning one is that 43% of baseball players report some form of arm pain after throwing. 11% say it happens often, and yet they continue to play. And then I didn't put it on here, but the one that is the toughest to swallow is that 30% of athletes who have arm injuries say that it makes baseball less fun. So the performance pyramid means that health is at the bottom. Health is at the base. Games, showcases, tournaments are all the way at the top, which means they're not the foundation. They're not the most important thing. And then a family who had already met their deductible before they came to see me spent $1,100 to try to figure out what's going on with their athletes. Baseball injury. This is having met their deductible on a pretty good plan. You can probably easily double this if your athlete is injured, and considering the numbers, stats are not in our favor if we don't do something about it. So this is a cost that we want to try to avoid as much as possible. So what's the fix? It's a big picture fix, but realistically, we need to take this whole person approach, which is what I'm talking about with the bases loaded model. We need to understand that ice and extra J-band work is not going to solve this baseball injury epidemic. Now, if you zoom into that performance pyramid, these are the things that live within that health foundation at the bottom of the performance pyramid: sleep, nutrition, workloads and routine, and your physical health, ultimately, your flexibility, your strength, all the physical properties as an athlete that you have in general. I want to zoom out and talk about the basics, and we're going to start with sleep. I started to write this specific topic out and realized how big of a topic it is and how important it is. These are big picture, big overarching sleep definitions and how it can help athletes perform better, recover better, and stay healthy. Okay, so we'll start by just defining circadian rhythm. A circadian rhythm is just your sleep-wake cycle. What time is your body used to going to bed? What time is your body used to getting up? When you sleep, the reason that this is so important in general is because it's when you store memories, it's when your body heals, it's when your body regulates your metabolism, it's when your body grows. There are so many things that happen at the brain level, at the cellular level, at the heart level. So much recovery happens when you sleep that this is not something that's optional. And if you think about it, I stole this quote from sleep scientists. Back when we were living in caves, the most dangerous thing that we were worried about is getting eaten by an animal bigger than us. That's why we learned to find caves and actually get into caves for safety, to protect us from those bigger predators. Despite that being the case, our ancestors, they still believed that passing out unconscious on the cave ground for 7, 8, 9 hours at a time was imperative. They had to do it. We've evolved to do this. Anyway, that's my soapbox, but let's get into the specifics. How much should you sleep? So the National Sleep Foundation actually recommends that teenagers, adolescents, sleep 8 to 10 hours per night. Some teenagers will actually need 11 hours straight of sleep. Now, that's not everybody, but most kids that I talk to, most athletes that are in that 18U bucket, they really just get 6, 7 hours of sleep, which is nowhere near enough. You need at least 8 to 10 hours at a time. And there is some biological evidence that teenagers are less awake in the morning time, and they tend to be more awake and have trouble falling asleep in the evening time. It's just something that naturally happens when you're in that age range. You need to get at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep, but quality of sleep matters too. I really believe this. Sleep is the number one PED that's underused and underutilized. And I say that because in this massive survey they took of professional and semi-pro athletes, they found that 0% of athletes reported getting too much sleep. It helps you recover. It helps you see the field better. It helps you in the extra innings. It helps you at the end of the fourth quarter. It helps you perform and train and just feel more alive in general. Sleeping less than 7 hours, it almost doubles their injury risk. I talked about mechanics, and I talked about shoulder mobility and shoulder strength and all of the baseball risk factors specifically. Nothing touches how much your injury risk skyrockets more than not sleeping enough. When you don't get enough sleep, it affects you as an athlete. Your reaction time is slower. Your mood is worse, so you don't want to listen to what coach is saying. When you're not sleeping enough or your sleep-wake cycle's totally off, it's harder to be hungry in the morning. Your mental processing is different. So if you're working on new installs, or you're even working on skill work, like you're trying to throw a new pitch or you're trying to change your swing, that stuff takes processing time. And if you're not sleeping enough, you're not recovering enough, you are not taking advantage of your body's ability to do all those things for you as an athlete. So let's start with some hacks. And really, these aren't hacks. These are scientific based rules when it comes to sleeping. Number one, if you feel like you got to nap all the time, there's probably a bigger issue you need to back up and deal with. And it's probably not sleeping enough. Now, once you've gotten to the point where you feel like you're getting 8-9 hours, maybe even 9-10 hours, number one is naps. We've seen through the science that 15 to 20 minute naps are okay. Don't sleep longer than 15 to 20 minutes. Also, just so your brain gets accustomed to your bed being just for sleeping, make sure you're not taking naps in your bed. Sleep on the couch in your bed, because that should be just reserved for nighttime sleeping. This is a tough one, especially when you're a younger athlete, but try to avoid heavy workouts 2 to 3 hours before bed. We've seen that does tend to mess with sleep cycles. Just keep that in mind. You're not totally in control of your workouts, but if you're a college athlete, professional athlete, keep that in mind. If we're talking a sleep-wake cycle, the most important thing about a cycle is having a routine. So if you're setting an alarm, not just to wake up, but if you set an alarm to go to bed or start to get ready for bed, start your nighttime routine at the same time every night, set an alarm, start doing that now. When you sleep, this is going to be tough if you live in a household where people run a little colder in general, but it is recommended to sleep between 60 and 65 degrees. If you can't do that, invest in a mattress that will allow you to reduce that topper, that mattress topper, and you can drop that temperature. That way you don't have to make everybody in the house sleep that cold if they don't want to. This next one is big. The sleep-wake cycle is based on thousands of years at this point on light and the sun. The reason that it's easier for you to wake up with a good circadian light is because your body's natural rhythm will start to wake you up 2-3 hours before it's actually time to get out of bed, and you don't feel as groggy. It's a gradual progression. If you get these circadian lights that you can use, then at 5 a.m., the light kicks on ever so slightly. 6 a.m. gets a little brighter. 7 a.m. gets brighter. 7:15, it gets to the ultimate brightness, and then you're awake, you're ready to go. Circadian lights are clutch. They're scientifically backed. If you have issues sleeping, I would get a blackout curtain and I would throw one of these lights on if you can afford it and go from there. Another hack, this is a hack that I've used and it really love it. Earplugs. You won't believe how much noise pollution actually exists unless you're just in the middle of nowhere farm town like I grew up. Throw some earplugs in. It's going to make you feel like you're floating. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's dark. It's cold. You're going to fall right asleep. And the most important thing, honestly, so people talk about caffeine and not having caffeine too late, which is true. Maybe 3 p.m. You probably shouldn't have any more caffeine after that. But let your body naturally wake up, because there are chemicals that continue to wake you up in the first couple of hours that you open your eyes. And if you have caffeine too soon, your body does become dependent on that caffeine source, and you're just not going to be in a natural rhythm. I'm not saying don't drink coffee, and if you really need it, I get it, I've been there, but try to hold off on the coffee. See if you can get through the 2 hours of your day before you start hitting those stimulants. And this is the big one. Everyone watching this, listening to this, reading this, I'm looking at you. Put your phone down at least an hour before bed. That blue light impacts your sleep. Don't be scrolling up until the minute that you fall asleep. If you do all these things again, and I've said this over and over again, there's not one silver bullet to preventing injuries, and the same goes with sleep quality. But if you do all these things, they slowly start to add up over time. You're going to be ahead of it. You're going to get ahead of the competition. It's not one silver bullet. It's 1,000 silver BBs.